Bell,
Here.
Curran,
Here.
Freeling,
Present.
Harrison,
Here.
Hinkleman, Majerick,
Here.
Martin,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Ballrap, Werfel,
Here.
Yarborough, Elliott. Madam Chair, you have 9 present, 3 absent.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Looking at the agenda, I am certain everyone received the minutes from June 9th, 2022. If so, I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved. Support.
All right, it's been properly moved and supported by Commissioner Scott, supported by Martin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No? All right. Requisition review. A moment with the next.
Does anybody have any questions about the requisition list that was sent out? No? Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're clipping along through our agenda this morning. We have scheduled discussion on the juvenile center design, and we have the team from Whiteman here to share. Yes.
Madam Chair, this presentation has been received by the admin committee. The admin committee was very engaged in the presentation and suggested that the presentation be shared with committee of the whole, with the desire for all of you to see the proposal from Whiteman and DLR. The proposal is to begin the site planning and design for a new juvenile center. Just as way of background, our juvenile center is based in Berrien Springs. Our juvenile center has reached a point where it's likely at end of life. Your adopted capital improvement plan that Ab and March put together notes that the county needs to either invest a significant amount, 5 million or more, into the juvenile center or look to construct a new site. That study then notes that our site in Berrien Springs is a shared site with the original general hospital. We've been put on notice that Lakeland is committed to halting operations at that site. There is a reverter deed that will have that property then returning to the county. The reason that we are pushing to have this presentation is we know that we have significant investments at the Berrien Springs site. We know that we will end up owning the water and sewer utilities at the Berrien Springs site. It is time to take a hard look at constructing new at the Napier site. So for today, we have a pretty impressive team. You'll be receiving this input or this update from. Also in the room is the staff, the leadership staff from both the court as well as from the juvenile center. My recommendation is take your time, get through the presentation, and then talk with Elvin, Skip, and Carrie about their thoughts. Madam Chair, are you ready to get started?
Yes, absolutely. And take no offense as I move to the back of the room, just so I can have a better vantage point to the presentation. But
Okay.
if there's questions throughout, let's try to hold them until the end of the presentation, and then we'll address those at that point in time.
One last thing to the board members, just as a reminder, use your mics if you have questions. It's my understanding that our chief judge is watching today's presentation. I believe that Judge Berger is also going to be observing today's presentation. And then the planning consultants working on strategic planning for the courts are also watching the presentation. If you use your mics, they'll be able to hear all of the discussion. Okay, let's go ahead and get started.
One of you guys want to control the presentation?
Yeah. If you go ahead and control it, we'll just tell you next slide.
Perfect. Okay.
So we'll just stand on this slide just for a minute. For those of you who were not at the last presentation when we were here, I just want to make sure that everyone understands why Whiteman and DLR Group. Whiteman has been in Berrien County now for over 75 years. This is our 75th anniversary. We are a staple in the community. And myself, George Kakan, I am an architect. I've been practicing architecture for about 30 years, actually more than that. And literally, I have worked all over the country. And as I was working all over the country, and I've lived in many different places in the United States, but my home has always been here in Michigan. And During that time, I had run into DLR Group. I've competed against them. We've worked on committees together, on professional organizations, and really got to know them. And that's why they're here in the room today, because we have a 25-year relationship with DLR. I do personally, and now Whiteman does. For the last almost 4 years, we've been working with Whiteman here in Michigan. We just completed the facility master plan for Detroit Public Schools. It's a $700 million program to help them get organized. It's a capital improvement program on how and what they should be spending their money on to be able to provide the best return on their investment. And then we're also working in Kalamazoo for the county, for the KRESA there, for a new career and technical education center. It's a $100 million project. So that's why we have DLR and Whiteman teamed here together, because they have an area of practice that is the justice practice at DLR. And when we put those our two teams together, we have a really good local presence with the expertise, I believe, that is necessary in order for you guys to make some really good informed decisions as you move forward with this facility. So let's hit the next slide. So I'm going to have Jake go ahead and introduce himself. He's the lead with DLR.
Yeah, good morning, and thanks for having us here. Jake Davis, I'm an architect. Also, I'm based in Chicago, but I lead our Justice Civic operations here in the region for DLR Group. A little bit about DLR Group. We're a national company, 30 offices, about 1,300 people nationwide. But we specialize, my colleague Marika Lopez and I specialize in justice and civic facilities. And this is a special place because these are places for vulnerable individuals. They're people that need both security and humanity. We believe in a design ethos of healing, equity, and transformation. And that's really going to be important in planning and designing a juvenile facility. For juvenile facilities, we specialize in this area. We've worked since about 1996. We've worked on about 70 or more juvenile facilities, both master plans, programming, planning, designing, but we've built over 2.1 million square feet of juvenile correctional facilities. Recently, we're working on a number of different juvenile facilities. In fact, I have a meeting today with another juvenile client in Illinois, but we're working on the new San Diego juvenile facility for the county of San Diego. We're working in Jefferson County, Alabama, on a very similar process of visioning the juvenile center. And I think a lot of what we do is we take a careful approach. It's a system-based approach. And I'm going to let my colleague Marika talk a little bit about our system-based approach. She brings a tremendous amount of experience as a PhD criminologist. And looking at the system is important before you even start planning the layout of the space.
Yeah, we're going to get Chris go on first.
Oh, right. Sorry, Chris. Go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Chris Bryack. I'm an architect at Whiteman and Associates. I've been at Whiteman for 38 years now. It's like 2 lifetimes, seems like. A lot. 2 lifetimes. But I'm the manager of architectural services for this region. What's going to happen if we're allowed to work with you on this project is people from DLR will do the planning. They'll put together a program and use their expertise to give you a state-of-the-art type building. Then it comes to me and I put together the plans and the drawings and assist with the bidding. And then it'll go into contract administration. And then the final part of my service will be making sure that the building is constructed as the plans indicated. You know, it will be your plans when we're done. And it's going to be your design. Using the DLR's expertise to give you the right type of building. And now we'll carry through construction and turn it over to you at the end. We really look forward to working with you on the project. So.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having us. My name is Maraika Lopez, and just a little bit about me so that you understand my background and my accent. So I was born and raised in Spain, and I'm a jurist criminologist, what means that by training, I have law degrees in criminology. So I start my career in law, and I was shadowing for a year, I was shadowing a judge. So I have a very good understanding, an overall understanding of how the entire criminal justice system works. But while I was studying law, I never entered into facilities. So I was always wondering what happened to people once we send them to prison, what happened to them once they sentenced. So I went into criminology because it was a way of entering prison. So then I started my career in Spain, in a prison in Spain, and I was acting as a jurist criminologist and taking care of the sentences of the inmates. And then I had the opportunity to come to the United States to see what's out there. And I guess I never left. So I came to stay for 2 years, but coming from Europe, the first time that I entered into a facility in the United States, I was like, oh man, what's going on in here? So there is a lot to be done. And when I was about to graduate, I saw this very interesting advertisement that they were looking for a sociologist, a criminologist, but they were architects. I said, what do architects care about criminology and about sociology? So I realized the symbiosis about everything we know about theories of punishment, like why people do what they do, and then the relationship with the buildings and how the buildings and the environment that we create really can have an impact for the better or for the worse on how people are gonna react. So I was fascinating, and this conversation came for me, was more than a conversation than a job interview, but I took the job. And for the last 20 years, I've been working hand by hand with architects, helping them create buildings that are not just beautiful, because any architect can provide you with a beautiful building, but also is a tool as an opportunity to really have an impact on the occupants of the building. And when I say occupants, it's not just the residents, the people that are going to be staying in those facilities, but for everybody. It's an opportunity to use the building as a resource that can help people that are going to be working there, people that are going to be visiting those facilities. So about a year ago, I joined a DLR group. I was coming from an architectural firm which niche was correctional facilities and justice facilities. But every time that I was working on a juvenile project and our clients wanted to tour exemplary juvenile facilities, I found myself touring DLR facilities. And it's like, okay. So when the opportunity came for me to switch careers and go to another architectural firm, obviously I didn't have it was like a very quick decision which firm I wanted to join. So we're here today to talk about your project. I know that by paper it's called like a design project, but right now we're not yet ready to design because we really need, before we design, before we need to define. So my colleague has mentioned that we work with clients that they are envisioning new things. I think that we are at a point in history that we are not just visioning, we are reimagining. And that's what we're doing with our clients elsewhere. So I guess that I'm international, just not because I bring like an accent or I was born in a different country, because also throughout my career, I had the chance to work in projects around the world. So most recently, I had to move to Australia to help them with a juvenile project. So, from doing this so many years, there are so commonalities that apply to every part of the world, but they are very unique things that apply to specific parts of the world. So we are a team that we do not come with a preconceived solution. This is what you need. So we are a team that as part of our process, we need to understand your unique needs, because we have to tailor this facility to the unique circumstances of Berrien County. So as I see, this project presents a tremendous opportunity. Maybe this is a lifetime opportunity to have a facility, a juvenile facility, because for the good or for the bad, those facilities are supposed to last 30, 40 years. So I think that it's a tremendous opportunity to do things right, to do the things that really the department wants to do and how they want to treat and reimagine the system. And that's why we're here, because that's what we bring to the table. So we love clients that challenge us, and we also love challenging the client, because sometimes, you know, you are just by years of years and by virtue of what you have, you just used to operate this way, but there are other ways out there to operate. And a beautiful thing about that is that from years of doing that, we can put you in connection with other colleagues or people that are going through similar circumstances. Sometimes we challenge you to think differently, and you will say, oh, no, this is not going to work with our population. It's like, why do you say that? Why don't you call this person that is going through the same and ask them how it has worked with them? So everything that we will bring to the table and we will explore, I know it's not gonna be new to this team because they've gone very high already on the curve. So I think that what we loved the last time that we were here is that we didn't know each other, but we were speaking the same language, just with a different accent. But we were all on the same boat in terms of what is it that we want, what is it that we headed. So again, we could be the team that tell you, yeah, this is what you need 50 beds today, tomorrow, we start construction here. This is the box that you need, but we are not this team. So since this, I see this as a county project that we will involve a lot of parties, because it's not just juvenile, it's everybody that at some point has a contact. Everybody that at some point has a contact with a juvenile has something to say, and that starts with the police department, with the police department, with law enforcement. So we like to bring to the conversation law enforcement, we like to bring to the conversation district attorneys, we like to bring to the conversation judges, and obviously the administrators of the facility. As I see, this is a facility that when ultimately is built, it's going to be a community resource. Again, it's not going to be just a building for those that have to spend time, for those kids that have to be temporarily removed from the community. I think that we have an opportunity to create a community tool, a community resource, because as we agree, based on what's going on, families have to be part of the intervention. Families themselves have to be part of the rehabilitation and the healing process. And at the same time, this building has to be a community building. So we want this to be a community resource, not just for the families, but for maybe the neighbors or law enforcement or whoever needs to use this facility for training purposes, to have like large board meetings. So the facility is gonna be there. So we had a presentation that I didn't even know that we had because I thought it will be more of a conversation. But we're here to answer questions. I mean, I was very highly impressed, but even if you go to the website, I mean, it's so aspirational. If you go to the website and you read what's the mission and vision of the department, everything is there. Everything that is considered best practice, the words are there. So philosophically, everything is there. It's just that operationally, there is in terms of infrastructure, there is not a good fit. So there is a philosophy, there is a mission and a vision that the department wants to implement, that it's being hampered because of the infrastructure. Another thing that I hear constantly, and it was mentioned this morning, is that the department also is going through some kind of staff shortages, and that we see everywhere. So when we start thinking about the facility, how it's gonna work, how is it gonna operate, we're gonna also have into consideration staffing implications. However, having a modern facility in the community is also a tool that will help you with recruitment, and it will help you with retention, and it will help you to attract people that maybe in the past they were not comfortable working in this environment, but when properly accommodated in a facility where they can feel safe and secure, they're gonna be more willing to work. So often, after we are the type of team that we're just not gonna work with you for a period of time and then will disappear. The way that we learn is that we do like post-occupancy evaluations, and we try to follow how having this facility has had an impact on everybody. So we often go back to after a year or after a period of time about once the facility was functioning, what has worked, what has not worked, and what are the things that in the future we can learn from that. So we learn from our own lessons from doing these facilities from so long. And what we hear from staff is like the morale of the staff is like now they like to come to work once they provided with facilities. So we mostly usually, because I speak from the heart and I speak most of the time for the residents, I'm always like looking what are the needs of the residents, but staff, they tell me, yeah, but we are also human. So it's true. So we care about staff. So this is a facility that will help also their well-being. So the same that we're gonna create the spaces that will help kids to heal and transform and develop as human beings, the same will do. Like we also take good care of staff, and we know that while they are like in these facilities, they need some space, respite spaces where they can temporarily remove themselves when things are going on. But we also need to provide them with the skills to de-escalate, to train, to know how to deal directly with juveniles and form rapport. So this is the philosophy that exists here. So we have a strong foundation. I know I'm talking too much, but if you have any questions, I mean, we're not showing you so many pictures again, because your facility is gonna be unique, but sometimes I'm not an architect, so I'm very visual. I need to understand. So when you mean colorful, when you mean colors, when you mean like soft materials, when you refer to this, to that, what do you mean exactly? So we'll show you everything we speak of. You will see it in images to understand what is it, the concepts that we're trying to implement. So I think that that's why today we don't have images. But anyway, we're here to answer any questions. I mean, I don't want to go deep into the philosophies of what's going on today in juvenile, but yeah, the industry has changed tremendously from when I first planned the first juvenile facility. I mean, right now it's all about rehabilitation. We realize that doing business as usual has not helped at all. And at the contrary, many families and many people are impacted by incarceration. We are at a point with juveniles working with youth that if you ask them, when I tour facilities, I always like to talk to them and say, like, why are you here? What brought you here? It's like, they even asked me, well, where you were expecting me to find me? My mom is a drug addict, my father is in a whatever facility, my brother was killed. So it's just like kids that have never had the opportunity of being kids. So I tour facilities, especially with girls, and sometimes the girls are so happy to be there, which breaks my heart. It's like, you are not supposed to be that happy when you are at this facility. They say, well, but it's the first time that finally I have the opportunity for a period of time to just focus on myself, to focus on my studies, because I don't have to worry about being abused when I go back home. So we are at a situation, historically maybe was this, but it was not that visible. But right now we understand the complex issues of trauma and abuse that the youth are bringing with them when they come to the facility, and responding to this with a punitive approach doesn't help, but at the contrary, re-traumatizes them. So this is all about, you probably heard, it's all about trauma-informed care and principles of rehabilitation, of healing and recovery. And the key to that is safety. And that's why we're talking about, yeah, a secure facility. It needs to be secure, but at the same time, it needs to be safe. And I always said that for a facility to be secure and safe doesn't necessarily translate into a hard environment. So if what you're expecting is to see a facility that is going to have bars that is going to have bolted things into the floor, maybe we're not the team for you, but because there are ways of doing things that it's proven there that it works and it leads to positive outcomes. So everything that we will bring to the table is not because we say that works. No, it has been proven. It's scientifically proven that it works. And it works for the better, like to accomplish the positive outcomes that we want. So I'm gonna, yeah.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your passion, and we're just going to wrap this up so that we have some time for some questions and answers. Like we mentioned earlier, we've been a mainstay here in Berrien County. Our office is located right on Pipestone Road. I've probably driven by it a million times. But you can see why we're here, the value that we can bring to your process and to this particular project and the greater community. We have the team that really understands the inner workings of this. And I guess from my perspective is, where do you place the value that you're going to spend on this facility, whether it's on professional design services, operational, bricks and mortar, the greater community in terms of the societal piece. We have a really good team that I believe can get you to where you want to go and provide you with that information for you to be able to make informed decisions. This is really what this is all about. So with that, let's hit the next slide, and we're going to just open it up for questions and answers.
Thank you very much for starting the dialogue. So I will open it up if there's any questions from the commissioners at this point in time.
Madam Chair, a couple.
Certainly.
First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for everything that you're doing on this. And I do have a little bit of experience in this as a retired correctional lieutenant. But I also have some other experience in working closely with Chris Brayak, who designed a commercial property for me. And I think one of the most important things that everybody in this room needs to realize, it's not so much the drawings on the black ink on white paper, but it's the construction management and the as-built that have to be done and taken care of. And I've never had a problem with Whiteman in doing that. It was a great experience. My only question is the master plan that the county has as far as using the property that's out there. This would be the first facility that we're going to put out there. And do we have a master plan that is actually showing where all of the county facilities would be if the county seat, if and when the county seat got moved from here to out there? The other thing that I have a question about, and this would have to do with the sheriff, is right now we have a tunnel system going from the jail to the courthouse. Are we going to have the type of system also from a tunnel system going from the juvenile facility to the courthouse also? Is that something that's going to be needed? I think those are the things that need to be thought out way prior to designing a building with walls and interiors and things like that. So that would be my only comments on it, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you for your comments. If memory serves me correct, there is a master facility plan, maybe from 2014, when this, go ahead.
Yeah, so there is, the county worked with a team from Andrews University on doing some site planning for the Napier site. That has been shared with the team that you're talking with. They're aware of those drawings. The intent is to try and build the momentum from those original concepts. If this thing is done right, you're going to see greater connectivity to your health department, greater connectivity to your animal control department. Ideally, if this thing goes right, it would create additional volunteer opportunities. Potentially, kids living at the juvenile center could be more engaged with the dog walking programs for the volunteers at animal control, could be more engaged with the services provided at the health department. That's if this goes right. I've mentioned to some of the attendees here that I've gone to Muskegon, to Ottawa, and to Kalamazoo County. And what I personally saw was you put up your juvenile center, and guess what comes next? Your family division of the courts. Kalamazoo County's would be one of the newer facilities, and quite frankly, one of the nicest facilities. And their juvenile center was built. And then within 5 to 10 years, the new family division of the courts was built adjacent. And the director, Peter Holt of that facility, and Peter's actually from St. Joe, Peter's comment to me was, if they had to do it over again, they would really give some greater thought to how they transport juveniles from the center over to the court. They have an enclosed walkway that is fenced in and has a roof on it. And he just said that out of everything they did, that was the thing that they kind of messed up on. It didn't have any type of climate control. So it's either freezing cold in the winter or boiling hot in the summer. So as we think about this site, we're trying to push the idea that long-term, you're going to see more and more county activities out at that site. Will it be courts? I don't know. But if we do this right, you're going to have the maximum flexibility as you add additional services at the Napier site. I'm not sure if that addressed your questions, Ezra, but I tried to.
Thank you.
Yep.
No, it did. It was just the point that I just want to make sure that whenever we do, and we have to do this, so let's start it, but whatever we do, let's have the forethought and planning so that we're set. You know, that's the only thing that I'm concerned with, because if we do pre-planning on some of these other things, that'll make this whole thing work a lot easier. And I'm all about not spending money again.
Ottawa is such a good example of pre-planning. They share a wall with the sheriff's office. So they're sharing buildings and grounds. They're sharing medical. They're sharing the maintenance. And now they're adding a family division of the courts at the same site. It's a really good example of what we're hoping to accomplish.
Sure. Are there any other questions for the team? Yes, Rayante.
Well, this is more for Brian, I guess. Have we had a conversation with the municipal governmental leadership out there at Benton Township?
So we haven't started with Benton Charter Township on any type of planning and zoning questions. This is something that if the board engages Whiteman and DLR to proceed, that would be a conversation we'd start. We have started the conversation with Lake Michigan College, just making sure that they know that this is coming. The college, I think I know someone that might have been involved. The college has spent a significant amount of money on constructing residential dorms. And our site would be a very close neighbor. So as this process gets rolling, being a good neighbor, actively engaging the college in what we're doing is going to be a critical path to ensure that we don't end up in a situation where there is significant headbutting. Muskegon County's facility is a good example of trying to build in a surrounding neighborhood. They went into it with the design concept that was very much trying to make it a very friendly looking facility. And within probably a year of operation, they were hardening the facility, adding razor wire, adding additional security, because the concept was so heavily focused on being attractive and being a good neighbor that I think they missed a few things as far as on-site security. So yes, we will follow up with the township, but we've already started the conversations with the college.
You know, knowing a bit about the college, there's a really great opportunity not just to train college students to become correctional officers, but also to have the youth, the residents, go over and work in the fab lab and the machine tool and welding. And so great opportunity to actually provide some educational experiences for them, along with their Barry and Risa. I'm not sure if they're still running classes out at the juvie or not, but it's the great synergy there. So it can really make this something different.
Madam Chair, you do have representatives from the Juvenile Center. We've tried to keep them at the table for all conversations. I would really encourage you all, take a couple of minutes and pick their brains on whether or not they think this is the right fit.
Certainly. We do have representatives, so as Brian said, so I think it is a timely question. How do you feel about the process and where we're at? Good morning.
Alvin Gonzalez, Family Division Administrator. I've been here 21 years. When I arrived here 21 years ago, the interview team that I was interviewing with presented me with a challenge. They said, we have a juvenile center that is chronically overcrowded. We have, I think at that point, had a 17-year history of chronic overcrowding. There was a lot of conditions of what we call conditions of confinement that were not good. And we've worked really hard as a family division, and I have to thank my staff because they do the work, the staff at the juvenile center, my probation staff, court staff, and we've done a lot of significant reform and improvement of the juvenile justice system in our county. We have a lot to be proud about. And at its time and in its place in 1974, when they opened up the Berrien County Juvenile Center, it was a state-of-the-art facility. It had the foresight to have a detention unit, a residential treatment unit, had on-site gymnasium and cafeteria and everything. It was really, really pretty progressive for its design at the time. As Marika said, and the folks from Whiteman DLR, there's been change in the types of kids we're getting at the juvenile center and the types of needs they have, and just in the treatment approaches used with kids. So what we're talking about doing in terms of a design and planning for a design is really, we're at a very critical point in Berrien County's history. We can be again at the tip of the spear in terms of innovative design that's functional, that stays within a reasonable budget, but it's actually continues to do the good work on transforming kids' lives and the families that these kids come from. And so I think it's a really important thing to view this project as not just how many bricks do we need, how many feet of rebar we need, because that's going to come, but you really have to do the preparation, the planning on the front end. And I think that the DLR group and the Whiteman partnership is a strong partnership, because you've got the bricks and mortar folks you can design, and you've got folks that also understand juvenile justice and the treatment and rehabilitative needs of the kids. And I would also just indicate to you, think of yourself when you go to work. The environment in which you work in can either be conducive to creativity, retention, satisfaction in your workplace, or you can come to a work environment where things are broken and worn and torn and haggard looking, and it has an effect on our workforce. We do exit interviews for every employee that leaves our employment at the juvenile center. A continuing theme in the exit interviews is, wow, this place is really dated and it doesn't seem to be really well designed for the space you're using it for. I understand that observation because I spent the last 9 months, physically working at the juvenile center nearly every day. And I could see the inefficiencies and some of the challenges we have. It's not a knock to the history, because we respect our history, but we're at the point now where Berrien County can really be smart in its design, be looking into the future and stay within a reasonable budget, and really be poised to really provide creative, collaborative, rehabilitative services for kids and families. And I think, again, we need partners to do that. It can't be just an inside job where there's only one perspective on this. So I think DLR Group and Whiteman could be good partners with us. And they did design the Kalamazoo County Juvenile Center. So if you ever have an opportunity, you'd like to see that. Peter Holt, as Brian mentioned, is the director. And again, this is a legacy project for Berrien County. It's going to be here and in this county serving kids way after we're gone. So we need to do it right. not only for our taxpayers, but the kids and families we serve.
Thank you, Alvin, for your comments. Is there any other discussion? We are pressing on the end of our time here for committee of the whole. I know we've got other parent committees to head off to, and we have a couple more items on the agenda. So,
If there's no other discussion, the intent would be to bring forward an authorizing resolution from the admin committee as early as next week. Sound good?
sounds good.
Great.
All right.
Madam Chair, before you exit, I had one unrelated item.
Okay, well, we have a couple more items on the agenda. We'll put that in other business. Is that okay? All
Absolutely.
right, we do need to open it up for public comments at this time. So if there are any of our public members here who wish to make a comment, please do so. Be mindful of 2 minutes or less. Hearing none. All right, that was quick. Brian, now in other business, sorry. He had to sit down and get back up.
Okay, on happy news, I think just about everyone in the room is going to recognize the lady I'm going to ask to stand up. So this is Maureen,
Good morning, Maureen.
and you're going to recognize her name. It's on one of your resolutions for today. So Maureen is, we are asking the board to agree with our hiring committee's recommendation, which is to move Maureen into the Veteran Services Director role. And I can tell you that I could not be more pleased about this move. We went through 4 incredibly impressive and excellent interviews. And the thing that really struck me is 4 super solid interviews, and 1 was absolutely at the top, and it's this lady's interview standing next to us. So if you get a chance, please chat with her. She's got some really impressive ideas on just boosting services to local veterans. Madam Chair, those are my comments.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning. And that will be an agenda item considered at our 10:30 meeting. And so with no other business before us, we are adjourned to,
Madam Chair,
yes,
just one comment to Brian. Would you please work very closely with this team because, and help them and help us on BCBIT to make sure that we have the correct amount of information and they have the correct amount of information on a fiber going out to that facilities for what we would need and also for redundancy and expansion for the next 20 years.
You got it.
Thank you.
Yep.
perfect. All right, and with that reminder, we are